The flaming figure, Az-Zahir, the last of his kind, the last ancient Ifrit, came upon Amira. As he approached the young girl, he gazed deeply into her soul. He acutely peered into her essence, into her very being and her destiny. "Finally," he whispered to himself, "you have come."
Zahir closed his fiery eyes and began a low, quiet chant. His brilliant flaming form began to dissolve and fade. Slowly, while opening his eyes, he lowered himself upon Amira. His burning aura enveloped her. As he completed his archaic incantation, the two merged into one.
"Get up," Amira heard a soft but strange voice call to her. "Rise and be strong." Amira slowly opened her eyes, which now burned with the orange and yellow flames of ancient magic. She saw no one. She slowly looked around. Had she imagined a voice? As she rose to her feet, she felt a raw power within. Her muscles and veins burned, not in pain, but with an overwhelming force. She did not know from whence her newfound strength came, but she was thankful for it.
Amira once again set out to the north. The hardened ground let her know she was at the edge of the desert and moving into the mountain regions. This rocky ground was new to her. She was accustomed to the soft sand beneath her feet. This was not the same hard ground as the paved streets where her family would trade for goods. This ground was uneven and ever-changing. Amira lowered her head and pushed forward, one foot in front of the other. She ignored the pain as her mind was dedicated to the memory of those she lost. Another step, her mind relived the moment the beasts descended upon her and her people. Another step, she recalled the face of her mother, who had nurtured her and taught her the ways of the desert. One more step, Amira recalled the blurred image of the fiery being.
She could not explain the voice she had heard. It was exhaustion, she assured herself, not truly believing her own deduction. "I am with you," the tone rang out in her mind. Again she quickly looked around in confusion, in an attempt to discover the voice's location. "I'm not out there. I'm with you." Questioning if her mind had broken, Amira asked aloud, "Who are you, and how can it be that you are with me?" "I am Az-Zahir, the last of my kind, and it was I who came to you as you resided yourself to death." Still in a slight state of disbelief and confusion, Amira once again began to walk. As she trudged forth, Zahir told her his story. "My kind were once a proud and magical race that roamed the deserts long before any humans arrived. We were born during the early creation of the cosmos, born from the fire of the sun and shifting sands of the desert. And for millennia we danced across the sands and fed upon the living rays of the sun."
Amira moved higher up the rocky foothills, listening to Az-Zahir's story. She learned that the Ifrit fought a long and costly war with Bahamut al-Khan and his deadly creations. The war cost Zahir much, leaving him to wander the desert alone, only feeling the echo of his people in the rich sunlight of the day. But the night brought the inescapable pain of his loneliness. At dusk, Amira was fortunate enough to find a small natural spring expelling water from a crack in rocky ground. She dropped to her knees and caught the water in her hands. She brought it to her lips and drank. Her dry throat stung, but she did not stop. Again and again she brought as much water to her mouth as she could. She splashed the cool water on her face and gave thanks to the gods of her people as she looked to the sky. As she brought her eyes down from the heavens, she noticed a small hole in the hillside not far away. With night soon to fall, and in need of respite, Amira cautiously made her way inside.
Only looking for a safe place to rest and regain her strength, what Amira found there surprised her. A group of shadowy figures, silently watching her with piercing eyes. As Amira's vision adjusted to the dim light, she realized that these were no ordinary travelers. Their tunics, robes, swords, and knife belts gave them away. These were the infamous Hashashin, known for their deadly skills and unwavering loyalty to their cause. Her mother had told her the stories of the most masterful fighters who moved quietly through the shadows and left no trace behind after their deeds were complete.
A grizzled man with a short greying beard and skin like deep brown leather stepped forward from the group and greeted her. "Come, sit by our fire and share in our meal." With measured steps, Amira cautiously moved forward, being careful not to directly catch the gaze of any of the nearly 30 men and women in the cave. The small entrance of the cave had opened into a large inner chamber, and Amira could see the shadows of several large corridors and tunnels that led from the room. Slowly she sat with legs crossed, facing the fire. The man who greeted her at the entrance removed a knife from his belt and cut a healthy portion of meat from the spit.
"I am Rashid ad-Din Sinan," he said, as he handed her the savoury cut of meat. "You need not be afraid, little one. No harm will come to you. You will be welcome here." Amira nodded her head in acknowledgement and began to devour all of the food and wine that she was offered.
Days passed, and at first Amira was hesitant to trust these mysterious figures. However, as she spent more time with them, she began to see their true nature. They were not the heartless killers portrayed in the many stories and legends told of them. They had a mission and a purpose, and they were willing to do whatever it took to achieve it. Amira was drawn to their strength and discipline. They carried themselves with such grace and purpose that she would find herself staring at them as they completed the most simple of tasks. She wanted to move like them, to be one of them, to be a part of something larger than herself. But in her mind, she knew that she wanted their skills that would bring vengeance on the monsters who slayed her mother.
As Amira adjusted to her new life, she would listen intently as the assassins would sit around the evening fire in the main chamber, referred to as the hall, and listen to news brought in from their many scouts and spies. They would talk about the politics of the different cities and of the important names in each of the towns. But ultimately, the conversations always turned to the most important topic of the region, the draconic wormkin. She learned that the mundane goods in the raided caravans were mostly ignored, except for the jewels and gemstones. She knew that the gems were mined by the dwarves in the northern mountains. But why were they so coveted by the serpent bloods and the dragon? There was only speculation. Some offered stories and legends of Bahamut al-Khan's need and desire for these stones, but nothing was truly known for sure.
Eventually Amira was given her own quarters. A small room cut from the stone, a few paces down one of the tunnels that led to the hall. It was in her quarters that she felt free to speak with Zahir. He did not force himself into her mind when others were around, but when they were alone they would speak at length. He urged Amira to take advantage of being taken in by the Hashashin. Learn everything you can from them. You will need such skills to take on the challenges to come. Amira was in agreement. The next evening, during a meagre dinner, Amira listened anxiously for a break in the usual conversation. When there was a noticeable pause, she turned to Rashid and spoke in a low, soft voice. "I want you to train me."
A slim smile appeared on Rahid's face. "I wondered when you would ask, little one, but this is not the way for one with so much life ahead of them, so many experiences yet unlived. Why would you want to be like us?" She took a moment to think to herself and to prepare her words. For the first time she told Rashid of how she came to be among them. He looked deep into her eyes as she told of the attack on her caravan, of the loss of her mother, and of her journey into the northern foothills. Rashid listened intently to every word spoken and seemed to hear the words that were left unspoken. "It was never our place to ask what happened. It was your story to tell when you were ready. But if I am to train you, I must know about the one who is with you." Amira's eyes widened and she gasped, How did you know?"
Our spies and scouts are in every shadow throughout the land. We were silently watching you as you made it through the desert and into this rugged land, Rashid explained. But I am unsure who or what it is that is inside of you. Amira went quiet, then slowly revised her story, this time including the previously omitted tale of Az-Zahid and what she had learned of him and his kind. "Do you speak with him? How?" Rashid questioned. "His voice comes to me in my mind," Amira explained. "He understands my thoughts." "May I speak with him?" Rashid asked calmly and gently. Amira's eyes suddenly flashed hot yellow and orange. Flames began to emanate from her body. Rashid felt the intense heat and slid back slightly. A deep ethereal voice spoke. "We are one. When she speaks, I speak. When she hears, I hear." The flames slowly subsided, and Amira's face returned to normal. Rashid slowly nodded. "We begin tomorrow."